Hariom, and welcome to Live Vedanta, a podcast about simple living and high thinking. We're amidst our series, Stairway to Serenity, which covers the 100 words at the heart of self-development. This week, what are we exploring? Life can feel like a long haul, a marathon of endurance rather than a sprint we can just get over with. How do we find purpose amidst the tiredness of the race? When the path ahead diverges into two, how can we stop ourselves from instinctively choosing the easy path and intentionally choose the road less traveled, the road to lasting peace? Let's listen in to our coach from the sidelines, Vivekji, on the answers to these all-important questions.
Hariom, and greetings from Niagara Falls. Quite often, my parents and Sheila's parents will be confused about social media and or technology. And they will come to me with questions about social media and or technology. And as soon as those words come out of their mouth or I read an email, I think to myself, what a waste. Because I'm only going to confuse them more. I know nothing about social media and nothing about technology. Those who do not reflect on Vedanta are doing the same. Vedanta means knowing thyself. Veda, knowing. Antaha, thyself. This demands reflection. Those who don't reflect on Vedanta, they're approaching this sacred science from a secular narrative. And this is wasteful. This reminds me of the Joni Mitchell song. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. When Vedanta can be paradise for us, what are we doing? Not reflecting, so this just becomes a parking lot. I'm grateful to all of you. I have been moved by this course significantly, and it is because of your steadiness, your sincerity. We've not been together for a couple of weeks now, so I'm going to review all of our headspaces, starting with our 30th. That is abhyasa. In English, practice. There are countless practices given in this science. You focus on one. One practice from this course, or one practice from Bhagavad Gita. This is sacred. You practicing one will bring the rest of the practices together also. This is most logical. If you nurture discipline, won't you also be nurturing patience, devotion, faith, etc.? Focus on one practice and then practice. 31 is yajna. In English, dedication. For those who are practicing dedication, they do not know what they are sacrificing. If you know what you're sacrificing, if that's what your focus is, then you are not engaged in a yajna. 32, dana. In English, generosity. In some religions, and you must know friends who are in these religions, it is mandatory to give a percentage of your income, of their income, to their local religious institution. By show of hands, do you all know people like that? Similarly, in some religions, it is mandatory that you volunteer, to be generous with your resources, to be generous with your time. In our religion, that is Sanatana Dharma, this is not mandatory. Why? Because this is integrated into what one is to do every day. And I was quite specific about this in our Vedanta and Bhagavata course, that Sri Krishna's day revolves around dhyana, which is contemplation, then dhamma, which is devotion, then dana, which is donation. Every day. Then dharma, which in English is profession, or volunteering yourself to help with others' responsibilities. So if anyone ever asks you, how come it's not mandatory to give resources and time? Because in our culture, this is normalized. This sense of you have to do this is not enforced. One should naturally be practicing this. 33 is tapaha. And tapaha means toughness. When you burn your comfort zones, when you push your comfort zones, you will be able to endure more, forbear more, which is why tapaha is training for titiksha. Titiksha means endurance. With many countries and many communities being locked in more than ever because of the coronavirus, etc., there is more reports that are being shared about people not having an outlet, not being able to connect. And so them being locked in is not just physical, it is mental. And then they explode towards those who are around them. It could be constant arguing, it could be domestic violence. And that's why tapa is important, because it trains one to endure. 34 is dharma, and dharma means responsibility. There's a popular saying, which I'm sure you've heard, dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. This is me presuming it's popular. It may not be. I'll say it again slowly. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. I see the same looks on your face. I'll go slower. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Which means those who protect dharma are protected by dharma. In a very practical way, those who do not live responsibly, their lives are filled with complexity. So much self-talk, self-doubt. So a very complex inner and outer world. And when you have to be around such people, there's that saying, you're walking on eggshells, correct? There's so much volatility in their inner world, there's no way to safely navigate their outer world. But for those who are following dharma, your life becomes most simple. And 35, prarabdha. In English, effort. Prarabdha is made up of the compounds pra, which means fully or well, and arabdha means commenced or begun. Putting this together, it means well commenced. The messaging behind this is going to happen. One may as well be intentional while this is happening. To be intentional. How many of you have been in a serious car accident before, by show of hands? Okay. I was in a very serious car accident. I've shared this a few times. On a highway, I did a 360, clipped a sign, flipped the car, it landed backwards, and 3 of the tires exploded. Like they just burst. And I had a passenger with me too, and neither of us were injured at all. I very clearly remember this happening. Like in my mind, as I'm speaking to you, I can still see the car spinning, hitting the, not billboard, but the highway sign. Hit a billboard. It was awesome. The highway sign. And it reminds me of this is happening. I should be calm while this is happening. Because if I'm not calm, this is going to become more dangerous. See how prarabdha is defined as effort. To be intentional with what is happening to you. We continue to new spaces. Share with me in the chat, what was the first space in the moksha patha, or how we begin our journey first? Avidya. And what will be the last space? Moksha. Right on. We are journeying, and we're doing well with our journey. We're about to complete 40% of this journey towards moksha. Are you feeling this? Are you 40% more enlightened over the past 4 months? Some of you are nodding definitively, yes. 36 is puruṣhārtha. Puruṣhārtha, in English, purpose. Purpose. How do you know what your purpose is? If I ask you what your purpose is, all of you are going to write, to live joyously. But you tell me, how do you know factually what your purpose is? How would you gauge that? If you could create a test to identify one's purpose, what would that test look like? What you're escaping from, what the Shastras tell us. The Shastras tell us a lot. Do you follow all of that? How many days you are cheerful? My observation, this is a test of your purpose. It is where you are giving yourself. Specifically, where you are giving your resources, your time, your effort. That is a clear indicator of what your purpose is. I'm going to read to you the paragraph from the Seeker's Word Book on puruṣhārtha. This is quite a reflective paragraph. Society defines success as achieving pleasure, possession, and position. We convince ourselves this direction will make us happy. And here's the most important part. Yet, The reality is that whether we achieve these pursuits or not, we feel incomplete. Is this accurate? Whether you achieve pleasure, possession, position, we still feel incomplete. So then what is the point of directing ourselves towards this? Puruṣhārtha. These are the words that make puruṣhārtha. Purusha means person. We are all purushas. Artha means what we find meaning in. And what we foremostly and finally find meaning in is purnatva. That is happiness, completeness, joyousness. That's a lovely way to look at this word. Purusha, artha, purnatva. And so the only purpose for us, whether we acknowledge it or not, is moksha. Moksha means this joyousness, happiness, completeness. So whenever you're asked, how many puruṣhārthas are there? Tell me, how many are there? Show me. Just one. I remember being in Cleveland right when I'd started. It was January of 2014. And I started teaching Bhagavad Gita for those from Cleveland. This was on the top floor of that side building at the Mandir. It's cold, it's dark. And I wanted to get to know what the seekers were like. So I asked them, how many puruṣhārthas are there? And very clearly, they were all about to say 4, but I put my hands up like this. And they all went, 7. And I was thinking, oh God, here I've come to this new city. We're going to start a Chinmaya Mission Center. It's going to be hard. that easily they can be convinced about what purpose is. We only have one purpose, and that is joyousness. In the Happiness Series 5, there was one teaching about space management. And I'd shared with everyone, a sattvic space is living in a forest. A rajasic space is living in a city. And a tamasic space is living in money. Now, living in money, living in a city, living in the forest is living in here. What you're thinking about, directing yourself to. And I had shared, there are many young families, young couples, young seekers who are choosing to live in money or live in a city and get completely lost in reference to happiness or completeness. What did they do their whole life? Pay for their mortgage. Party with their friends. That is not a purusha's artha. I was just discussing with a seeker recently who found that her corporate job was too stressful, causing anxiety. And I'm very appreciative and supportive of her that she's chosen to step down from that corporate job. That her mental health, her puruṣhārtha, is what's important. That requires a lot of clarity, conviction, and confidence. 37. On your moksha pata, if you're looking at this digitally or you've printed this off, 37 says, shreyas. I'm changing it to preyas. 37 is going to be preyas. 38 is going to be shreyas. Why? Let me define these and then I'll conclude. Preyas means pleasure. Preyas means pleasure. Our maps, our guides have shared, we are constantly making decisions, choices, and most of the time, the factors or the directions to choose from are only two. One is preyas, one is shreyas. What is preyas? Preyas is the minimum people for minimum time in minimum ways creating minimum happiness. The direction, the choice of living for pleasure. What is it? It is for minimum people. Can you point to me which person it's for? For minimum time. In minimum ways, naturally that's going to feel like minimum happiness. In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a beautiful comparison that Bhagavan Krishna gives. Preyas is easy in the beginning and hard in the end. And I often share with younger people, with kids, it's like telling the truth. Telling a lie is easier in the beginning, but becomes harder in the end. Correct? You have to keep up with that lie. It's mentally taxing. For us, this path of pleasure has become our instinct. When we have a choice to make or a direction to take, we take that which is easy. If you think of a physical example, if you're lifting weights that are easy, or you're on a bike or treadmill where the resistance is easy, does that help you more with your physical health? But if there's heavier weights and more resistance, that is generally more healthy for you. Now, I'm sharing all of this, and as you're hearing this, you're thinking, yeah, path of pleasure, you tell us about shreyas, because that's the one that we're oriented to. Are you? For this path, you should test yourself. And don't test yourself after this class. Of course, you're going to choose the path of shreyas. In that regular experience in the day, test yourself. What is your instinct? What is your default? Try to analyze the decisions you make. It would be so cool if you can have this mental report. Because if you notice that this is the path you're taking, maybe you won't take it then. And this takes us to 38, which is shreyas. Shreyas is vision. Preyas, pleasure, shreyas, vision. Our maps, our guides have told us that whenever we live our lives, it's not that complex. You either take preyas or shreyas. If you're taking shreyas, that means that you have vision. You're living by maximum people for maximum time in maximum ways, which will create, or we will rediscover, maximum happiness. Someone had asked Pujya Swami Chinmaya, what is our religion? And that's what he stated. Maximum happiness for maximum people, for maximum time. That's our religion. If you are following shreyas, that means this is leading you to Sanatana Dharma, your infinite nature. And I cannot overemphasize how clearly this is stated throughout your experience. You just may not be able to identify this as readily. In chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, right at the beginning, Prince Arjuna shares, Yat Shreya Syat. He's asking Bhagavan Krishna, guide me towards Shreya. In chapter 3, he says, Yena Shreya Aham. Tell me how I can follow Shreya. And think about the answer that's given. Chapter 2 is 72 verses. Chapter 3, the details on Karma Yoga. I'm going to give you 2 more references for you to reflect on. All that I'm sharing, you have to reflect on. Otherwise, you're not allowing yourself to feel paradise. I've shared this proverb with you before. I'm sharing it again. If you know the answer, please share this with everyone else in the chat. What is the best way to be happy for 1 hour? You are all awful students. None of you wrote 100 steps to infinity. It's a proverb. It can change. How dare it is sleep. The answer is sleep. What is the best way to be happy for a day? For 1 day. Sport. Go for a hike. Go dancing, etc. What is the best way to be happy for a month? It's sort of like a vacation. Get married. What is the best way to be happy for a year? For 1 year? Win the lottery, inherit a fortune. Okay, so far we're with nap, sport, marry, inherit. What is the best way to be happy for a lifetime? Serve others. This proverb, it is help others, which is the same. Everything that was described before helping others is as if preyas, as if preyas. I've been married for 11 years. I'm not saying that is preyas, okay? It's as if preyas, but certainly helping others is shreyas. And Puja Swami Tejomayananda has added one more facet to this proverb. The proverb ends with happy for a lifetime. He has shared what is not the best way, but the only way to be happy forever. That means all lifetimes. Know thyself. Know Sanatana Dharma. That is your infinite nature. So reflect on that in reference to Shreyas. And now the other reference I was referring to, for all of our Devis, we're part of our Devi culture classes, workshops, retreats. Right now we're flowing through Puja Swami Shivananda's 18 itis, 18 vital virtues needed to be joyous. We're going to be completing the 18 itis tomorrow. In January, I have a new subject that just came to me today that we're going to continue our Devi culture with. Puja Swami Shivananda has founded an organization called the Divine Life Society. The Divine Life Society. How many of you have heard of this before? By show of hands. Okay. The slogan for this society is 4 words. Does anyone remember what these words are? And this is not a test where how fast your search engine works. I'm asking you to, if you remember, type it. It is serve, love, meditate, realize. Serve, love, meditate, realize. The technical analysis, karma, bhakti, jnana, leads to moksha, but in reference to what I'm describing as shreyas, serve, help, maximum, our religion. In our next class, we will flow through 2 more headspaces, 2 prominent teachings in Vedanta about dukkha and sukha.
If you enjoyed what you heard or want to learn more, share this episode with a friend or find us online at facebook.com/cmniagara. For those on the journey of self-development, Chinmaya Mission Niagara provides a community forum for seekers to listen, reflect, and contemplate. This podcast is produced by the Young Adults of Chinmaya Mission, an international nonprofit working to transform individuals through the knowledge of Vedanta. Until next time, inspire, love, be.